Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the first prediction of the year. It's finally here. College football has rolled around. I'm doing this game now because it's literally in a couple hours, and I am so hyped. I'm so excited. I've been waiting for this for so long. I think we all have been waiting for this, and the NFL. It could not have taken longer for this next season of football, and it is literally tomorrow we get to see these teams play. And I actually really like this matchup. I still do, even though figuring out this isn't at Georgia Tech. It's in Ireland. I did not know that. I thought it was at Georgia Tech. No, they are playing in Ireland, which is pretty cool, but I kind of think it's a little sad and disappointing because I actually thought this was going to be at Georgia Tech, and that would have been a sick opener. I mean, it's still cool in Ireland. It's just there's no real like home field type thing, which kind of takes away from what my insane, shocking prediction would be for the start of the year. If this was at Georgia Tech at 9 a.m., I was going to say Georgia Tech was going to pull the upset on this, and that probably is already shocking enough to hear because people wouldn't agree with that in the first place. But to be honest, Georgia Tech was a pretty decent team last year. They finished like 7-6. They're returning 13 of their starters, including their quarterback and their running back, and I believe their best receiver. Georgia Tech looks to improve this season. FSU lost their starting running back, Keon Coleman, Johnny Wilson, and I'm forgetting their quarterback's name. I don't know what their quarterback's name is. It has completely left my brain. But the Florida State quarterback last year, wow, I really can't remember his name right now. Whoever he was last year, whatever his name was, they lost him too. They also lost a lot of key defensive players, but they got a lot. However, the reason I am talking so down on this FSU team is because of their quarterback. DJ, I think it's pronounced Ugandala or something. We call him Ugali Balls around here. DJ Ugali Balls is a pile of shit. He brought hype to Clemson. He ended up being awful. He went over to Oregon State. People were questioning, is Oregon State going to be good? If DJ Ugali Balls could be a good quarterback, Oregon State's a really good team, and that was the case. But he wasn't a good quarterback, and that's why Oregon State wasn't the best team last year. He was not a good quarterback, and now he transfers over to FSU. And I like Mike Norvell, I like Florida State, but this is not their guy. This quarterback is not their guy. Ugali Balls, he is not a good quarterback. They should have looked elsewhere. If this is their best quarterback, there's a problem in FSU. They're not number 10. I'd assume if we are giving them top 10, that's because of a really solid defense and also some other key components on the offensive side of the ball. And I know a quarterback spot doesn't make up the entire game. However, it makes up a large majority. You can have a stacked team everywhere else, but have a bad quarterback, and you are going to struggle. Just like how Patrick Mahomes and Texas Tech worked, it works in the opposite favor. If you've got Patrick Mahomes and a relatively bad team everywhere else, specifically defense, you can still be a constant threat. However, if you don't have that quarterback, you're going to struggle. You're going to struggle. And I just don't trust in Ugali Balls. I trusted in him last year, and he wasn't good. He did not get it done with Oregon State. I gave Oregon State a lot of chances last year, and he could not get it done. He could not put up the numbers. He could not make plays. He was not Oregon State's – he was not their quarterback. He should not have been their starting quarterback. It should have honestly just been some other guy that they gave a chance because that was a really good Oregon State team that he drove into the ground. And Georgia Tech, on the other hand, was actually a pretty damn solid team last year. They played some teams really well last year. Their biggest win was against North Carolina, which came out of nowhere. I mean, we were not expecting them to win that. But Dude, they played Louisville, who we didn't know was that good at the start, and they only lost by 5 at the start of the year. They kind of got swashbuckled at Ole Miss, but Ole Miss was a good team. Their worst loss was to Bowling Green, but they bounced back with that insane win against Miami. A bad loss to Boston College, but turn around and beat North Carolina. Absolutely slam Virginia and take a beating at Clemson, beat Syracuse, but their most impressive game, well, I guess their most impressive game was a win against North Carolina, but their most impressive game was against Georgia. They only lost by 8 points. Now, I believe they put on a touchdown kind of relatively to the end of the game, but I remember tuning into that game a couple times. That game was close. Georgia Tech played that team 4 quarters. That's impressive. That was a solid Georgia team. So you've got Louisville, you've got Georgia, 2 teams that were very, very solid at the end of the year that Georgia Tech ended up losing relatively close margins. Their worst losses were against Boston College and Bowling Green. They just absolutely fell flat on their face, but they have a loss against Louisville, a loss against Ole Miss, and a loss against Georgia, and a loss at Clemson. I mean, those are respectable losses. Those were all strong teams. Their only other 2 losses were against random teams that were just bad games. If this Georgia Tech team looks to improve, returning their starting quarterback, returning their solid running back and a wide receiver, and 13 overall starters, Georgia Tech looks to improve. Whereas from what it looks like, FSU took a major step back. Now, this game, if it was at Georgia Tech, I would be pretty confident in my ability to say that Georgia Tech wins this game. Not by a lot, but close. However, it's in Ireland, which is crazy and really unfortunate for Georgia Tech because I wanted to see an upset. You could still see an upset. It depends on how the game is played. I mean, it depends on the momentum of the game. But ultimately, I'm assuming FSU is just going to have that recruiting talent, that more overall talent, mostly on the defensive side of the ball. And I'm going to say Florida State takes the victory. I know it's lame starting off the year like this. Oh, I wanted to do an upset so bad. And I wouldn't have done an upset just because I looked at it and I was like, oh, like I should just do an upset. No, I actually looked at this and said, hey, that'll be interesting. Don't count them out. And I still don't think you should count them out. I think you should still watch this game. Now, if FSU absolutely stomps this Georgia Tech team, that wouldn't be the best start to the year for me. But it also wouldn't be too out of the ballpark because FSU's number 10. But I expect this one to be relatively close. I think this is going to be a 4-quarter ball game. I might even be giving Florida State. I might even be a little too nice here with the 11-point game. Could be closer, could be lower scoring. But I think Georgia Tech could stun the world. They have a chance to stun the world at the start of the year. You could call me crazy, man, but I think Georgia Tech has a chance to stun the world in week 0. Wouldn't that be crazy? The line is 10.5 for Florida State. So even then, I mean, the line is not big. It's the over-under is 55. That's not much. But there's only a 20.2% chance for Georgia Tech to win this game. Yeah, and wait, I'm reading something here. It says Ugali Balls and King in spotlight. I think is King the Georgia Tech? I don't know. And King. Not sure who that is. But all I'm saying is I don't like DJ Ugali Balls. Georgia Tech looks to improve this year. Florida State took a couple steps back. Don't be surprised. Even last year, Florida State struggled with certain games. They struggled with Duke until Riley Leonard got hurt. They struggled with Clemson in Death Valley. They struggled with plenty of teams last year. I mean, the only game that Florida State ever really looked like a top 4 team was against LSU to start the year. But little did we know LSU didn't have a defense, and Florida State did. And I do think actually Florida State was a top 4 team last year with Jordan Travis. That's his name, Jordan Travis. Oh my gosh. It just I was saying Travis Hunter in my head. Jordan Travis. Finally. They were a much better team with Jordan Travis. But once he got hurt, that team looked like a pile of poo, man. Once he got hurt, that team looked like a pile of honky shit. And Jordan Travis is gone. And I don't like DJ Ugali balls. And I can expect this team to look like a pile of honky shit. That's all I'm saying. I just don't think Florida State is going to be that good. I think they're highly ranked because of their previous season and because they probably had a good recruiting class. But as long as DJ Ugali balls is the quarterback, don't give this team faith. That's all I have to say. If you think otherwise, or if you think Georgia Tech's going to win this game, let me know in the comments. Let me know how excited you are for this year of college football. And yeah, like and subscribe would help. A comment always helps, and that's all for me. Adios.